Okay, let's take a look at adding additional uses to activatable feats. But before I start with that, I want to make a quick correction to my previous video's code, where on Flame Weapon, I believe I used the Darkfire constant instead on the newly added gloves case. So the proper way of doing this is to not mess with these numbers. It's just a recipe for disaster. You should use the constant instead. So let's find those real quick. We want to find the item property constant for on hit cast spell, and then on hit for relative to the correct script. So this was flame weapon. We're going to want to find, I believe, yeah, fire damage. So we're going to take this constant. We're going to just replace all of these. Even the, oops, my mouse pad's on. Even this incorrect one, that's the dark fire constant. I go back to the dark fire script. Going to do that as well. And one additional change that I would like to include on this as well is to remove the visual effect property on weapons that can't display them. So, for instance, gloves and creature weapons and ammunition don't have visual effects. Ammunition has a visual effect, but I don't believe the property is valid on it. The visual effect is simply tied to what damage type I believe has the either the highest amount or has the highest priority. So let's take off this visual effect off of the ammos. I don't believe it was hurting the code at all to have this in there. It just was non-functional, just to clarify. So there's nothing needing to be fixed here. But it just adds to the overall length. So I'm going to go ahead and take it out. Okay. I'll do the same over here on Darkfire. I'm going to take it off the creature weapons. And the gloves. And then come back up to ammo and take it off of ammo as well. Perfect. Okay, that should cover that. All right, on to the subject matter. We're going to try and take Divine Wrath and give it additional uses based on your Champion of Torm levels. So first place we're going to start with that is we're going to start with the Divine Wrath script itself. So we're going to go find that real quick. I believe it's this one. It is. And we can add to this a check for if you have a value on your character, which is O target in this case. We'll call it test for now. Is greater than 0, which means we at least have one count of this test value. We are going to increment our remaining feat uses on target for the feat that we're choosing. In this case, it'll be Divine Wrath. There it is. And we're going to set our value then to 0. Good. Now we're going to go and take a look at our rest script because we want to have an additional use whenever we take our rest. So we need to make sure that we set this value when you rest. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to clean up all this campaign and or horse stuff just because it's not relevant to what I'm doing. Shouldn't need any of that. We don't need this. And these are prettier when they're empty. Perfect. We got rid of this. Okay. All right. Let's clean this up just a little bit. All right. Next thing I like to do is, say you finish your rest, it's gonna check this if statement, run this check, run the next else, check this one. So instead, we can just replace this with a single value and only evaluate it once up here. Oh, I did not copy that properly. I was holding the function key. Okay. And I'll do the same with this one. This isn't necessary at all. The performance benefit is negligible. But I think it looks pretty. All right. So you usually only want, for most servers, you usually only want this to occur when your rest is finished. So I'm going to put the final code in the finished section. However, for the testing purposes, it'll be significantly quicker if all we gotta do is start the rest to get the results we want. So I'm gonna start by writing the code here, and then I'm gonna move it down to the finished section later. So the first thing I'm gonna want to do is set our local value test to 1. So this should now give us one additional use of our divine wrath as long as we rest. Let's try it out. I've already recorded this once before and I lost the footage. So it's no surprise that I already have Champion 12 leveled up for this purpose. Really, I'm still too close. Okay, I'll move him in a second. Alright. Oh, I don't need to. Well, I need to finish my rest to get it back. I didn't think that through. It doesn't matter. Okay, so when I use my Divine Wrath, I should get a new one when it runs out. Or not when it runs out, when it goes to grayed out, it should pop me up a new one. And if I cast it again, it should not happen because I've already consumed that single use. That looks good. Let's try expanding on this. I'm also going to move this guy into the corner. Get him just a little bit further away. Okay. So the first thing we want to do is say you want to have the scale up with the number of champion Torm levels you have. Say, let's just say, for instance, we'll do it every 5 levels. You'll get an additional one. However, at levels 1 through 5, you don't get the additional one. You only get it at 6 because you still have one at 1 through 5. So let's start there with our rest script giving us a different number. So instead, we're going to do something where we say if get level by class, and this takes a class type. So in this, we'll do class type divine champion because it's named that in the constant for some reason. And we're going to check the player, and we're just going to check if your levels are, if our level is greater than 5. And let's take this value. Oops, I need to cut. Okay. So if you have more than 5 levels, you get one. If you don't, you don't. Let's give this a try. Go to the original version of this character. This one has only 5 levels, so if I start my rest, I should not get this extra use. I don't. Let's give 1 level to us. We'll jump up to 6 real quick. Let my rest finish. You know, I'm gonna adjust the rest scope to restore my Divine Wrath use immediately as well. So I should now get to use this. There we go. Perfect. Let's see if we can take this a step further. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to real quick increment our remaining feat uses for our PC. I'll find Divine Wrath one more time. Okay. That's just going to save me for waiting the whole rest. So we can take this to the next line and you say, else if, we'll do the exact same thing. If you are greater than 10. So if you're more than 10, which makes a level 11, you get your second use. Change that to a 2. Now, there's something wrong with the way this is written. If you're greater than 5, your value is going to be 1, which also includes level 11. So the order of these needs to be reversed. So we'll take this, put it here. So if you're more than 10, you get 2. Otherwise, you get 1. Okay. There's still something wrong with this, but I'm going to let it play out. Now I haven't rested yet, so I don't have the value set. So do a quick rest. Done resting. Works like normal. Everything's fine because I'm not level 6. Let me give myself a quick level. Weapon finesse. Rest. Now I should get 2 uses. There's 1. Let's take it a little bit further. Myself 5 more levels. Some rapier focuses, I guess. Get some light crossbow, I guess. And some mace, of course. Okay, I'm doing the rest. Now, I ought to get 3, given my level of 11. So let's find out what happens. There's 1. Do my second one. 2. So why don't I get all 3? Let's go back and take a look. Oops. Real quick. I want to make sure I have this character saved because I want to come back to level 11. Let's go find out what we forgot to do in our Divine Wrath script. So down here, we don't care what value we have. We're just setting it to 0. So what we'd rather do is decrement that value by just 1 point. So we'll need to use this amount minus 1. So I'm going to take this and turn this into a variable. We're going to call it cot level. No, that doesn't make sense because these are my cot levels. This is my bonus uses. That makes more sense. So if I have more than one bonus use, I'm going to increment the Divine Wrath value, and then I'm going to set my value to my bonus uses minus 1. Okay. Let's try this out now. This one. Progress. This is how when I use it again, I should get a second one. That gives 2. Gives 3. So far, so good. Alright, let's take this further. So we know what we're doing right now is working, so let's just keep bumping it up. Now, if I want to keep adding higher values to this if statement, it's kind of inconvenient to keep replacing the first one. So instead, we'll make the lowest one, the lowest level bracket, our first one, and switch the sign to less than 6, which is still 1 through 5. We can do less than 11. This also has the benefit of getting to write the number at which you get the next ability use. And I can take this and I can copy it all the way up to the maximum Champion of Torm level. Let's go to 3 to 4 to 5 to 6, and let's see where we get. So we get another one at 16. We'll get another one at 21. We'll get another one at 26. And we'll get a final one that's impossible at... Oh, sorry. No, not impossible. Sorry. You get your... Yeah, impossible, because you can't... Or your next one would be at 31 for 7. I just confused myself a little. Okay, no, this makes sense. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now let's take a look at our Divine Wrath script. It might be nice for it to display how many additional uses we have. So we can print out to the player. You have some amount on target. This does not need to be broadcast to the faction, so we're going to mark this as false. But we do kind of want to, we probably want to see this in the chat window. So instead of some, let's change that to our bonus uses. And And this needs to be changed to a string. Okay. Let's see where we go from here. I'm going to take a look at our first version of this character. Rest. Wrath. Let's see. Okay, I messed up a little bit. This one shouldn't have gotten an additional use, but I just remembered I added the first bracket by mistake. So let's go take a look at our rest. See, less than 6 should not get a bonus one. That was my mistake. So I'm going to take this out. No, I'm not going to take this out. I'm going to change this one to the new minimum. Drop all these numbers by 1. When I said I re-recorded this, I'm realizing why I was confused earlier. So the last time I did this, the maximum you could have was 6 total uses. So I was worried I made a mistake there. Okay, that's where the confusion came from. Okay, so if your total champion or totem levels is less than 6, you don't get any. So we're gonna just, I don't need that either. We're going to skip this whole bit of code by just doing a quick return. An early return. You don't get any additional uses, so we're not going to set any value on your character. Okay. Now let's try this again. Keep hitting multiplayer. Okay. Now I should only get a single use of Divine Wrath because I'm not quite all's good. Let's go into level 6. The best feat in the game. Quick rest. Now we should get 2 uses. And it will now tell us that we have 1 use remaining. Looks good. Let's check to see if the higher level version of this character gets the same messages. Here's level 11. Rest. Left, we are level 11, so we should get 3. Theoretically, this should work all the way up to level 30 at this point. So let's try cleaning this up a little bit. Instead of this messy if statement, we could use a formula instead. So we could say instead our level, the value that we're going to get is, let's write down your level first. So let's start by cleaning up the level. This will be our hot levels. This way we're not checking it over and over and over again. Okay. So if you have less than 6 champion totem levels, jump out early. If you have less than 11, you get 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. So instead, we can skip these if statements and just write a formula for how many you would get. So we can start by saying our champion term levels over 6. So if you have less than 6, we still jump out early. Now let's think about this for a second. At level 6, 6 divided by 6 is 1. 7 divided by 6 is still 1. We would want 7 to get 1, but we don't want 6 to get 1. 6 jumps out early. Sorry, I'm confusing myself again. On champion term, levels is divided by not 6. We're dividing by 5. You get 1 every 5 levels. I don't know why I'm thinking every 6. Probably because I have a 6 right in front of me. Okay. You get 1 every 5 levels. You want to get your next one on 6, but you don't want your next one on 5. So level 5, 5 divided by 5 is 1. 6 divided by 5 is 1. If we went up to 11, where you would normally get your third one, which would be 2 bonus uses. Sorry, these numbers are offset by 1, so it might be a little confusing. 11 divided by 5 is 2, but so is 10 divided by 2. Or sorry, 10 divided by 5 is still 2. But you don't get your next use at 10, you get it at 11. So we need to shift the graph over just one space. And to do that, we can take one away from our class level, like this. So now we're saying, okay, our level is 5. 5 minus 1, 4. 4 divided by 5 is 0. We don't get any uses at 5. At 6, 6 minus 1 is 5. 5 divided by 5 is 1. You get your one use. Go to 10. 10 minus 1 is 9. 9 over 5 is still 1. But at 11, 11 minus 1 goes down to 10. 10 divided by 5 is 2. You get your second use at 11. Second bonus use at 11, totaling 3. So this formula should take care of all those if statements for us. And this, since it would set it to 0, you really don't need this, but I'm going to leave it in anyway just because there's no point in setting a value to 0. Oops. Okay. Now, let's go ahead and take this and put this into its own custom function because we don't want all this code here for when we're adding more to our REST script. So let's take all this and write a new function called, let's just call it restore divine wrath uses. And we'll take that up to here. We'll make a new void, call it restore divine wrath uses. And we're going to slap all this code right in there. Okay. If I try to compile this, it's going to fail because the function is missing data. So within the scope of this function, we don't know who OPC is. So this is where we're going to add a new custom parameter. We're going to call it an OPC. It is an object. And in here, we're going to want to throw RPC into the function so that we can use it inside. Compiles just fine. Let's go back and clean up our Divine Wrath script a little bit. All right, there's not too much to clean up here. But one thing we could do is we could take this and we can add an else case for when you don't have any bonus uses. So if you have no bonus uses and you use this ability, you have none left. you cannot use it again, it goes gray. So we can convey that to the player here. And let's give this a go. Let's see the new message. Make sure everything's still working after that formula change. Okay. Now, we should still get that no uses remaining, even though we are not high enough level to get bonus uses. That's fine.
Gorak.
Have no more uses. Perfect. Just real quick. Now we should get 2 uses.
Gorak.
Remaining.
Gorak.
Now we have none remaining. So I'll make sure. Oops. Wow, that clicked quick. Okay. Let's go in real quick and make sure that our level 11 gets the correct number.
Gorak.
That sounds like 3 to me.
Gorak. Gorak.
Just to make sure, we're going to take a level, go down to 10, and see if we go from 3 back down to 2.
Gorak.
That looks like 2 to me.
Gorak.
Okay. Now let's see about expanding this. Let's say I want to also include lay on hands. Let's say you get an extra lay on hands every 6 levels. Let's try that out. So we can take this same bit of code, make a new function. We'll just replace Divine Wrath with lay on hands. Change the feat to lay on hands. So let's is it lay hands? Oh, of course. Okay. And say every 6 levels, we'll bump this up by 1, and we'll bump this up by 1 as well. Okay. We're also going to take this. Make a copy of that, and we're just going to paste this in its place. Now that we should restore both, but we need to set up lay on hands to function the same. That's probably it. Good stuff, good stuff. Okay, so let's take the code from Divine Wrath and move it over. One thing I gave a little bit of thought to is on your last use, you probably don't need to see it in your chat log. Maybe you don't want to see any of them in your chat log. You can adjust that by just adding a false on the end here for not showing up in the chat window. I'm going to leave it off for your last use. That way it only pops up above your head. I'll save that. I'm going to also do the same for lay on hands. Okay. And we're going to want to change Divine Wrath to lay on hands. Everything else good. Looks good to me. All right, let's compile this. Looks good. Let's compile this. Looks good. There's some things we'll need to fix. I'm sure you've seen them. Or maybe not, but we'll cover them. Let's pick our highest level one. I just realized I didn't restore my lay on hands use on rest. Let me go do that real quick. I'm not going to restart, but I am going to add that real quick. Oh, I did. Oh, it's in the function. Got it. Okay, never mind. I did. All right. So we should get. Ooh, how many do you get? I should get 2 uses because I don't get my next one until 7, and I don't get my next one after that until 13. What's remaining? 4 uses remaining. Perfect. As simple as that. Now it works for lay on hands. But not really, right? Really rusty. If I were to use Divine Wrath, I only have 1 more remaining. Shouldn't I have had 3? Surely I can use this again, right? No. So since they are sharing the same variable name, the uses are shared. And more importantly than that, the last line to run was the one that increased it for lay on hands. So the most uses I'm ever going to get are however many it said to give lay on hands, which will affect my Divine Wrath. So I'm going to run through my Divine Wrath code. I'm going to get assigned 3 uses. Then I'm going to run through my lay on hands code and get assigned 2 uses. So what we ought to do is pick unique variable names. So you could call these whatever you want. You could call it Divine Wrath uses. You can call it lay on hands uses. You could call it ability 1, ability 2, ability 3, whatever you want to do. For me, I think it's easier just to do the feat number because you have it right here, and then use that in the name. So we could start with 909, bonus uses. Take the same thing to here, except we're going to use the number 299. Simple enough. Let's take a look at these 2 scripts. Open these up. And we're going to want to make sure that we change these as well. So for Divine Wrath, we're going to want our 909 right here. And then again, for lay on hands, we're going to want our 299. Okay, I'm going to compile these real quick. Now let's test if our uses have separated. Quick rest. So we should still have but I don't. Lay on hands. I don't have them either. Let's go take a look at why. So on our rest script, we're going to set our bonus uses for 909 and for 299. Let's take a look at Divine Wrath and Lay on Hands. We only changed it on the set. We never changed it on the get. So let's take this. Change it here. My mistake. I must have missed that. That'll play into an important lesson that I'm going to cover right after this. Let's make sure that it works first. rest. We should get 3
Good
uses of
eye.
this. We get 11. And we should get
Good
2
eye.
uses of lay on hands. You get your first
Good
one.
eye.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and you get your second one at 7, 8, 9, 10. 1 use left. Looks good. Okay. On this very small scale, it already gets to be difficult to have to change this value in multiple places. So at the moment, there are 3 places where that constant, that string value for that variable is defined. We have 2 uses here, and then we have an additional use here in our rest script. Rearrange this. Oops, empty magic weapon. Perfect. Okay. So what we could do here is we could make a new include file. We're going to call this, say, Feat Restore Inc. You see, it's already auto-filling because I already recorded this. Okay. So this is going to be an include file, so we can't really have a main, or it'll cause a duplicate main error. I was going to say exception, but error. So I'm going to save this. We're going to take the code from these 2 functions, move them into this file. For now, I'm going to save this. And what we're going to want to do is we're going to add include our Feat Restore Inc. And then we can do that here as well. And here as well. Compile, compile. So at the moment, essentially nothing has changed, except we have our code in one place right where we want it. Now, to clear up this 3 different cases where we're writing out a string, where there's any chance I could misspell it, we want to have this only written once. That way, even if it is misspelled, at least it works everywhere. So we can do a constant for that instead. We'll call this divine wrath variable, just for simplicity's sake. Fix that real quick. Okay. And we're going to take another one for lay on hands. And now instead of writing this, we can just drop in divine wrath variable, go to our divine wrath script, and do the same thing. And the only reason this variable will work, or this constant will work, as if the file where it's defined is included. So if I want to save this real quick, this must be saved first before the other one's compiled, otherwise we won't recognize the change. So I had to save that. This should now compile. Perfect. We have our lay on hands variable. We're going to drop that right here. And also in here. Perfect. It's a lot neater when all our stuff is in one place. The only downside to doing stuff in an include file is you can't compile to make sure it works without uncommenting this. So if you uncomment this, you can check to see if everything compiles, but you need to make sure that you recomment it out, or else you'll get, when you try to build, errors on everything that includes it, mentioning that there's multiple mains. So real quick, we'll go and take that out. And we'll just hit save. Everything should be fine now. Perfect. Okay. Now, what if we also add, if we restore, what if we mention to the player that we have restored their Divine Wrath uses and their Lay on Hands uses? So we can add our text string on creature. And this is string object. We'll say your Divine Wrath uses have been restored. And we'll tell this to PC that rested. Take the same deal and move it down here. Okay. Now, we want to make sure that this line is placed after the early return if you don't have the required levels to get bonus uses. Unless, even if a character only has one use, you want to mention it anyway. I guess that could be a use case. Let's do that. Because even if you're level 1, you still get Lay on Hands uses. Also, I'm going to take this code out before I forget about it. And just drop this into here so I can remove it later. Make it extremely obvious. Because this is not normal behavior. We don't want to restore our uses when our rest is complete because it'll do that automatically. So there's no point to these lines. They only serve the purpose of saving me waiting for my rest to finish every single time I test this. I don't want them to get lost in here. Okay, so when you rest, your wrath uses have been restored, your Lay on Hands uses have been restored. Okay. There's problems with this. We'll get to it. Okay. Rest. Seems fine.
Gorak.
Okay. Even at level 5, we get this message. Could be annoying. Could be annoying. You can always turn it off. Let's take a look at someone more relevant to this, where they have a bunch of uses.
Gorak.
Uses. Restore them. Okay. Now, what about any other character? We don't need to be told that our Divine Wrath uses and our Lay on Hands uses have been restored if we're ineligible to those abilities. This is important for if this functionality is expanded to almost every single activatable feat. Say you want to add this to Paladin's Remove Disease, you want to add it to Familiars, you want to add it to Animal Companion, you want to add it to Barbarian Rage and Dwarven Rage and Bard Song and Curse Song and Arcane Archer's 4 different feats. one rest is going to spam you with a ton of messages unless you only tell them to the relevant classes. So let's adjust that real quick. Let's see, let's go to our rest script. We restore our uses. Let's go to here. Okay. So instead, we could only restore Divine Wrath uses if you're eligible for the feat. Which is to say, you can either say if you have the feat and give it the number, which is Divine Wrath. We want to ignore uses because we don't care if you can use it. We just want to check that you have the feat, period. Alternatively, you could also check the class requirements for that feat. Say, for instance, Divine Wrath requires 1 Champion of Torm, while Lay on Hands requires 1 Champion of Torm or 1 Paladin. Let's go to Lay on Hands. We'll just do whether you had the feat or not for now. That should be more than fine. So if you have Divine Wrath and if you have Lay on Hands, tell you your respective messages. Let's try that now. We'll keep improving on this. Quick rest. Nothing restored. Let's do a Paladin since they don't have Divine Wrath. Paladin. Lay on Hands. Good stuff. And let's do finally our Champion of Torm, which should have both. Perfect. Even this might be a lie. It's already, say you multi-class, you get 6 or 7 of these messages still. It might be good to just take them out of your chat box so they only pop above your head. And also, just now noticing, this is broadcasting to your faction, which you don't want to do. They don't need to know that your whatever uses are back. And we also don't need it in our chat log. Okay. It should be a little bit less. Nothing. I'm not going to bother checking the Paladin this time. Just going to go straight to Champion of Torm. This was the one I used for the other video that's level 40, but I only went up to 18 levels. Just to keep testing. Okay. Still 2, but they don't flood the chat bar. Good. Okay. But when you have 6 or 7, maybe you don't care about all this stuff. Maybe you don't even want to see barely even 1. But 1's better than 7. So what we can do is we can make a new function called restore feat uses. And this, call them both. I'm just gonna, what am I doing typing? This will call both of these on the player. That way, we only need to call this one function in our rest script. Let's go to our rest script. So instead, we'll just call restore feat uses on the PC. And we can take this. No, I'm just going to copy this whole bit, and we can just move this into here. Okay. I'm also going to, real quick, I'm going to add these all with prototypes, so the order of them doesn't matter. Okay. So I'd like this one to be at the top, since this is the one you're most likely going to be editing whenever you make a change to this stuff. Yeah, because without these, quick demonstration, without these, it's going to complain that this doesn't exist yet because it has no reference to it yet anywhere in the code. Prototyping it up here lets it know that it exists, and it will go and search for the code to go in, make sure it's usable. Okay, let's take this, compiled successfully, go back to our feat restore. Now, instead of having our divine wrath uses here, let's make little code blocks for these. And now these will be called after your uses are restored. So this is the same as it was before. It was already before the jump out. So everyone who hits the function before that would hit this line of code will still hit this line of code. It's just here now. But instead, we can make a new one of these. And we'll pass it a message variable. Find that real quick. Instead of this, just say our message is this. And our message is this. Perfect. But not perfect. Because if you have both of these, it will only mention lay on hands, since this one is overwriting the last one. Now what you can do here is instead have a count. If you have this feat, we can have our count increase by 1. Same deal here. So whenever we have a feat, we're going to increase our count. Now, for our message, if our count is greater than 0, we have at least one feat that's getting restored. We'll go ahead and say our message, which will be the one feat that we hit. Now, if we want only one to show, we're going to move this to the other one instead. Change this to a 1, so we have more than one. We'll instead replace the message with our own custom we'll say int2string in count that's a little weird. I'll leave it in. So if you have exactly one use, say the message. Else, if you have more than one use, give our generic one. Else, we don't do anything else. We don't need a message if you're not restoring anything else. Let's try this one out. Okay. No message. That's good. Let's open up our paladin. Resting should tell me my lay on hands. It doesn't enter the chat box because the way we have it set. And our cot, which should get both, we'll say 2. 2 of your feat uses have been restored. The wording's a little weird on that. So one thing we could do instead is just say, we could just be vague about it. But the count's there to work with it how you want. If you don't like the number, you could write your own conversion of a number to a written number. You could write, it seems more effort than it's worth, but you could make a function that switches your number from 1 to say 20 and write the string return as the written out words 1 2 3 4 5 blah 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 all the way up to 20. I don't think you could ever have 20 activatable feats on the character without custom content, but maybe you can. I'm not sure. So instead of doing all that extra work, because it's not worth it and it's not the point of this video, really, so I'm going to just write, I'm just keep it vague and say let's say feat bonus uses have been restored. And you know what? Let's put this in your chat. Now that we're only ever getting one message, that's not too cumbersome. It can go in the chat. That's fine. Let's go back to our rest script. Looks good. Let's try adding one more. Let's try adding one more restorable feat. Now that we have most of the work taken care of for us, you know what? I'll just do familiar because when I hit test mode, it brings up a wizard. Let's do it like that. So when I rest real quick, I'm going to restore my familiar. And then I'm going to take this value. We're going to go to here. We're going to make a, ooh, that's weird. Why did it do that? Ooh, that's even weirder. Yikes. Okay. Toolset's doing toolset things. All right. I'll just ignore that. Summon familiar variable is equal to 303 bonus uses. Simple enough. Values 303. We'll make a new one of these. We'll just call it restore familiar uses. Make a new one of these. Just going to copy the name from up here. And we're going to make sure I guess I didn't really think about how many more uses per level you would get. Let's just say 10. You get an extra use every 10 levels. That's simple enough. Okay, and you'll need to be a wizard for this. There's another, it may be apparent since I'm doing familiar uses, but there's another change I'm going to make. I just leave this as cot levels, that's fine. It'll go into the next little bit I'm going to make a change to anyway. So, if you have less than 11 uses, 1 through 10, you don't get that additional use. So level 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up to 10 gets 1 use. 11 gets your second use. 21 gets your third. 31 gets your fourth. So all the way at level 40, you'll get 4 uses for this. I'm only going to test it to 21. I don't want to make a really high level wizard. I guess it's only 9 or 10 levels. I guess I could. No, because I had to pick spells every time. I'm not going to do that. I don't even know if I'm going to do. I don't even know if I'm going to do 21. We'll see. Okay, so we have our little cheesy restore. That'll be removed. And then we have our function. This will give us 1 every 10. Now we just need to go to the familiar feat itself. Probably that one. Fair enough. We'll go to our Divine Rat script. I really hope that's the right one. Oops. I am misclicking all over the place now. Do our, what's this? I'm gonna take some unfamiliar variable. Also, I need to make sure that's there instead. Okay. In this case, we don't have a target. Oh. Now that I think about it. Everything's revolving around the target for the lay on hands. If you use it on a different player, that would cause an issue. So this is why I don't like O-target. I like OPC. Yeah, that's much better. Now, this is not going to work quite right because we don't have the caster or object OPC, so we're going to make that real quick. I believe the caster on spell scripts is just always object self. Real quick. Okay. Just want to make sure I didn't miss it. It's getting late and I'm getting tired. All right. Go to our familiar. Since we don't have a target defined, which we would rather have OPC, let's be real. Add that instead. We're going to have object OPC equals object self. Right, so now we need to include our restore feats. Include file, which is called Feats restore Inc. Now we have our variable, unless I misspelled it. Or maybe I didn't save that one. Yeah, that's what I was talking about earlier, where if you didn't save, you'd get an error on the other script that it's pulling from, or that's pulling it. Okay. Let's test this real quick. Rest. Uses remaining. One. That makes sense. Let's see if I have a higher level wizard. Let's It's the big skinny high level wizard. That guy. There it is. Alright. What about you? Do you get 2 uses? No, he does not. Let's go find out why. Go to our ref script first. Where's my ref script? Here we go. Restore our feat uses. Okay. Let's go find out what that does. Restore feat uses. At no point during this are we calling our restore feat uses, so let's copy this as well. And as long as you have summon familiar, as long as you have the summon familiar feat right here, we will restore our familiar uses, that account, and your summon familiar uses have been restored. Okay, now let's try that one more time. Close this. Rest. Your summon familiar uses have been restored, but I should still make it 1. Let's check out the other high level wizard. Uses have been restored. This guy should get 2. But he didn't get it. Let's go find out why he didn't get it. So that would be because I increased Divine Wrath. Goody goody. Alright, let's change that real quick. Someone familiar. This is why you always test everything. Okay. Let me check here. Get your uses back, but you should still only get 1. Do the other wizard. Restore my uses. Should get 2. I don't want to say, wow, that was easy, just like that. You can add another one, but there you go. It was relatively that quick to add a new one. Just don't make a whole bunch of mistakes because you're tired. It's a pro tip. Okay, let's clean up the rest of this, and then we'll call it. How about that? Okay. So, first, as long as you have the required feat, we'll restore our uses. However, in Divine Wrath, if you are less than 6 champion turn levels, we jump out. For lay on hands, we jump out if we're less than 7. However, a paladin that's a pure paladin that has lay on hands will only ever get 0 champion and turn levels and will always be less than 7, which makes it so a pure paladin will never get any more additional uses. Now, maybe that's fine. Maybe that's what you want to do. That's weird, though. Don't do that. But maybe you do want to do that. We're not going to do that. So instead of our champion and Torm levels, we're going to change this to Cot Pally levels instead. And we're going to add Paladin levels to this count. Okay. So if the sum of your levels is less than 7, you only get the single use. As for familiars, same deal here. That's why I left this alone, because I knew I was going to come back and change this to Wizard Sorcerer later. Do bards get familiars? Oh no, I can't remember. Oh no, I don't remember. Let me find out real quick. I feel like they do. Actually, can't you check it out here? Oh. Wizard Sorcerer 1. I guess they don't. Well, custom content. You'll need to account for that on your own, and if that's just wrong and I'm remembering correctly, I thought bards could get it. Maybe I'm wrong, I don't know. But say there's a custom class that can do it, you'll need to account for that additionally here. That'll be not here, but here. So I'll just change this to levels. Place those, and will add to sorcerer levels. Okay. Perfect. Do a quick test on that real quick. I don't see why you would make a sorcerer wizard combination, but it should be. They should count together. So if you have 5 wizard levels and 6 sorcerer levels, you will get your second use. You don't need them separately. I guess you could write it to be separately. Maybe I'll include that real quick. Comment it out. I'm not going to test it, but I'll write it in commented. Okay. Right here, I'll add a quick. If combined levels count, we're getting additional feat uses. And then I'm also going to write if combined levels do not count for getting addition. I spelled additional wrong. I really need sleep. Feat uses. We'll add. How do I want to do this? Because I guess I could just do. we'll just define those both real quick right here. Get rid of sort here and get rid of wizard here. And then I guess we'll do int in highest is equal to levels in sort levels whoops. And then yeah, I could just do that actually. I'm gonna take this guy here. Oops. And minus levels. Alright. And I'll just put this at the bottom, I guess. I guess it's really dealer's choice on how I want to write this. So I guess you just choose one of these sets of code. You want where they combine, you can use this one. If you want them to work separately, you just get rid of all this and just uncomment this bit. Let me just make sure this compiles real quick. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. I wrote that real quick. Don't be surprised if it doesn't work. It should, but I give no guarantees on this. Just because I wrote it so quick and it's not really part of it anyway. But it should get you most of the way towards getting it if that's how you want. But I guess. Nah, never mind. I'll just leave that how it is. Okay, what was I testing anyway? Oh yeah, I was testing a higher level paladin can get additional uses, and then we'll call it there. Because we know a champion Torm can do it, and we know paladin can get lay on hands, the chat message to pop up, but we haven't tested if they can get additional uses yet. So let's do that. What's the high level paladin? Okay, that'll work. Get your lay on hands uses. And you get 3 because you're 15. That makes sense. Your third one at 13. Chat. Perfect. Okay. I think I'm going to call it there for this video. As always, I'm going to include the code for this in the description below, and also I'm going to include the changes that I made at the very beginning to Darkfire and Flame Weapon, just so everything's out there. If you copied it word for word and you need the updated version, it'll be there. Okay. Well, that's it for me. Take care.